I posted it on the web, which was young and silly then, and I thought hundreds and then thousands of downloads, and people were offering me money to get more features in. So I thought this seems to be a business. At the time, I was just keen on getting any sort of business off the ground. So when I moved to the valley, I basically pitched Peter on the following concept. There is a clearly demand for moving these cryptographic operations that are poorly understood. Even though it's not rocket science to reverse engineer this stuff, no one else had done it before me. So there is some complexity involved, definitely some complexity involved, because no one has done before me. So even though it is not a rocket science, so you can just reverse engineer and get appropriate result. The real difficult thing actually was getting an implementation of cryptographic algorithm on a Palm Pilot, because Palm Pilots are very low power, and back then they were really low power, like 60 megahertz processor. So to do an encryption of a public key operation on a Palm Pilot was really expensive. There is some art involved in how you speed it up, both from the user interface perspective and the math perspective. In math, you have to see how much you can squeeze out of it, and in the user interface, you have to make it feel like it's not taking that long, even though it's really is taking like a 2 second, which is a really long time. In these handheld devices, the card that you get, you type in the password and it's done. In these handheld devices, the card that you get, you type in the password and it's done. I was able to get it to the point where it was instantaneous on a Palm Pilot. These things are all sort of child's play at this point, but at the time they were very important. Anyway, I wanted to start a company that would take this scarce skill of implementing crypto on handheld devices and then packaging it into the libraries and products. The assumption was that the enterprises are going to all go to handheld devices really soon as primary means of the communication. Every corporate dog on America will hang around with the Palm Pilot or some kind of devices. Which I wanted to do was capitalize on that emergence of technology. And then, of course, enterprise requires security. Security requires these scarce skills. I have the skills start a company. So that's what Peter funded. By the time he joined, he had realized that even though the theory was pretty much logical, the move of the enterprise to handheld devices was actually not forthcoming. Kind of like the early Christians in the first century were all really hard at work waiting for the second coming, but still waiting. So it felt like the early Christmas. Any minute now, there will be millions of people begging for the security in their handheld devices. It just wasn't happening. We were correct to change our strategy since it still hasn't happened. Then Jessica Livingston asked, "Tell me about how you adopted the strategy." Then Max Levichin replied that initially I wanted to do crypto libraries. Since I was freshly minted academic, I won't even need to figure out how to do this commercialization part. I am just going to build libraries, sell it to somebody who is going to build software, and I can just sit there and make a penny per copy and get marvelously rich very quickly. But no one was making the software because there was no demand. So we said we will make the software. We went to enterprises and told them we are going to do this, and gone some positive reception. But then the thing happened again, where no one really wants the stuff. It's really cool. It's mathematical complex. It's very secure, but no one really needed it. Oh my god. Uh, by then, we had built all this tech that was complicated and difficult to understand and replicate. So we thought we have all these libraries and may allow you to secure anything on handheld devices. We can secure? Maybe we can secure some consumer stuff, So enterprises will go away and will go to consumers. We will build the wallet application, something that can store all of your private data on your handheld device. So your credit card information, this and that, everything. And we did. And it was very simple because we have already had all the crypto stuff figured out. But of course, there was no incentive to have a wallet with all these digital items that you couldn't apply anywhere. What's my credit card number? Pull out my pull out your wallet on and look, or pull out your handheld wallet and look. So that was really not going to happen either. Then we started experimenting with the question, what can we store inside the Palm Pilot that is actually meaningful? So the next iteration was that we would store things that were of value and you wouldn't store in other ways. Okay, you should store something valuable and you can't store it any other ways. So the next iteration was we would store things that were of value and you wouldn't store in other ways. For example, storing password in your wallet is really bad idea. Really bad idea. If you store them in your Palm Pilot, you can secure it further with secondary passphrase that protect it. So secondary passphrase means it is the password which will going to protect your another password group of passwords. So we did that, and it was getting a little bit of attention, but it was still very immature. Then finally we hit on this idea of why don't we just store more money in the handheld devices. The next iteration was this thing that would do cryptographically secure IOU notes. I would say I owe you $10 and put in my passphrase. It wasn't really packaged and the user interface level as an IOU, but that's what it effectively was. Then I could beam it to you using the infrared on the Palm Pilot, which at this point is very quaint and silly since clearly what would you rather do? Take out $5 and give someone their lunch share, or pull out two Palm Pilots and geek out at the table. But that actually is what moved the needle because it was so weird and so innovative. The geek crowd was like, wow, this is the future. Oh my god, this is the basic thing. People thought this is the future. Okay, that's right. Things get evolved in this way only. We want to go to the future. Take us there. So we got all this attention and we are able to raise funding on that story. Oh my god, that is how PayPal has started. Then we had the famous Bucks beaming at Bucks restaurant in the Woodside, which is a sort of the home away from the home from many VCs. Our first round of the financing was actually transferred to via Palm Pilot. Our VCs showed up with the 4.5 million preloaded Palm Pilot and they beamed it to us. The product wasn't really finished, and about a week before the beaming at Box, I realized that we weren't going to able to do it because the code wasn't done. Obviously, it was really simple to mock it up to sort of go beep, money is received. But I was so disgusted with the idea. We have this security company. How could I possibly use a mock-up for something worth 4.5 millions? What if it crashes? What if it shows something? I will have to go and commit ritual suicide to avoid any sort of embarrassment. So instead of just getting into the mock-up done and getting reasonable rest, my two coders and I coded non-stop for 5 days. I think some people slept. I I know I didn't slept at all. Oh my God! See, he wasn't slept for the almost continue for the 5 days and just coded whole day and night for 5 days just on the one topic of encryption. Okay, this is the very big thing. People, if you can give 5 long days continuously, then you are already in the top 1%. It was just this insane marathon where we are like, we have to get this thing working. It actually working perfectly. The beaming was at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. We were done at 9 a.m. It was one of these things where you can't just be done. With crypto, if you are one bit off, nothing going to work. We started testing at midnight the night before and fixing all the bugs and tested more. There were definitely some memory leaks, but it was secure. It was one of the things where the software wasn't perfect, but the security path where the money changed hands was definitely probably secure. The danger was that the Palm Pilot might crash, but the transaction was perfectly safe. Danger is that the Palm Pilot can get crashed, but the transaction is very secure, very safe. I could have bet my own life on the transaction. The thing that was not safe was just the software was not really perfect. It was clunky. I was worried that it might crash. So we had stacks and stacks of Palm Pilots preloaded with the same software. Obviously, money could only reside in one of them, but the Palm plan was that if I see that any one of them is crashing, I am going to make a fresh pair because we needed two Palm Pilots, one for the receiving and one for the sending. I was fully prepared. They were marked sender A, sender B, sender C, receiver A, receiver B, receiver C. So I had this stack of Palm Pilots. I hopped in a car, drove to the box, and it was like 9:50 a.m. Peter was getting very anxious about the whole thing. That's where everything became very blurry because I was so tired by then. Oh my god, he was actually doing coding for the last 5 days continue, and right now he's going to Bucks. So at the 9 a.m. Things going to be definitely very blurry. He was sleepy. There were about a dozen TV cameras and journalists. There were a really big coverage. We did the beaming, and some group showed up late and said, "Well, you do it again." I said, "No, I just slaved away for the 5 days straight, for the 5 months straight. The whole point of security is that you can't replicate the transaction. Once it's done, the money has changed hand." Oh my god. Once it's done, money has changed its hand. It's come from your hand to my hand. And turned away the screen because the screen was actually saying security breach. Don't try to resend the same money again. Which was triumph for me, but the pain in the the ass for the camera. As I was getting interviewed by the Wall Street Journal or some big pub guy, all I remember was that he went off to the bedroom for the second and they brought out my omelette. The next thing I remember, I woke up and I was on the side of my own omelette, and there was no one at the box. Everyone was gone. They just let me sleep. Then, Jessica Livingston, what did you do first after you get this new funding? Uh, Now, Max Levichin. As soon as we got funding, we started hiring aggressively, and we built this app for the Palm Pilot, which was getting pretty good worth. We were getting 300 users per day. Then we built a demo for the website, which was functional, and so you could do everything on the website. Then that you could do on the Palm Pilot, except the website was unsexy, and we didn't really care. It was like, go to the website and download the Palm Pilot version. It's really cool. Okay, they were actually marketing their own stuff. Now, again, new question. Jessica Livingston has 300 people were downloading it per day for fun. Then Max Levichan said, "Well, there are lots of geeks. It slowed down pretty quickly too, but initially we got a lot of publicity about it. Sometime by early 2000, we realized that all these people were trying to use the website for transactions, and the growth of that was actually more impressive than the growth of handheld devices one, which was unexplicable because the handheld devices one was cool and the website was just a demo. Then all the website was just a demo, but people are using it more. Then all these people from a site called eBay were contacting us and saying, Can I put your logo in my auction? And we are like, why? So we told them, no, don't do it. So for a while we are fighting tooth and nail, crazy eBay people, go away, we don't want you. Eventually we realized that these guys were begging to be our users. Mm. We had the moment of epiphany, and for the next 12 months just iterated like crazy on the website version of the product, which was today's PayPal. And for the next 12 months just iterated like a crazy on the website version of the product, which was the today's PayPal. Sometime by late 2000 we killed the handheld one because we pegged out at 12,000 users. They were still using it a little bit, but they were really upset when we killed it. They said you were about you were about the handheld transaction, not about this web stuff. We are like, no, we are pretty much about the web stuff. They tell a lie. Then Jessica Livingston, how many users did you have for the website when you killed the handheld product? Then Max Levchin, I think we must have 1.2 to 1.5 million users. It was an emotional but completely obvious business decision. It was emotional but completely business decision. You don't have to be emotional in your business decisions. Then Jessica Livingston, when did you first notice fraudulent behavior? Livingston, from the day one. It was pretty funny because we met with all these people in the banking and credit card processing industry, and they said fraud is going to eat you for lunch. Fraud is going to eat you for lunch. We said, what fraud? They said, you will see, you will see. I actually had an advisor or two from the financial industry. They said, get ready for chargebacks. You need to have some processing in place. We said, they said, mm-hmm. They said, you don't know what a chargeback is, do you? Jessica Livingston, so you didn't foresee this fraud. Then Max Livingston, I had no idea what was going to happen. Then Jessica Livingston, but you weren't too surprised. Then Max Livingston, we try to attack the system for ourselves like a good security person would. We try to attack the system of ourselves. I try to attack the system of ourselves to test it like a good security person would. How can you cheat and steal money and do whatever? We made some provisions from the day one to prevent fraud. We prevented all the obvious fraud, and then I think 6 months into it, I saw the